Hello there. It is a Tuesday, which means it's time for another in real life video. This one and next week's will be recorded ahead of time in advance. Actually, the same is true of pretty much every video coming out from then to now, because I will be out of state. I'm going to go see a long-standing friend, an old friend's wedding. We got invited there, and gonna go see it. If I'm allowed to, I'll ask. I'll post some pictures on our Instagram. If you're into that kind of thing, there's a link in the description of any of the more recent videos within like the span of years. But yeah, suffice it to say, that's what's up. I even got a haircut, as you can see, got trimmed back there a little bit, because although I really enjoy wearing hats with an outfit, I don't know, for a semi-formal or higher formality of a wedding, feels a little not right to wear a hat there, you know? But nonetheless, very much looking forward to it. Anyway, this week, for this in real life video, for this week, we've got another gentleviewer submitted question, and their username should be somewhere on the bottom third of the screen right about now. And they ask, what narrative themes would you like BGS, Bethesda Game Studios, to explore in Fallout 5? Which is sort of a follow-up, and I think it was also asked on the same video where we sort of talked about narrative themes that were present in Elder Scrolls and what I'd like to see sort of covered and talked about, or what I was expecting or anticipating in Elder Scrolls 6, right? Yeah, 6. But for Fallout 5, a lot of what I think... Okay, first and foremost, I'm not a writer, right? I'm not someone who's writing all this and whatnot, but I would love it if it were something that sort of continued along the line of sort of critiquing and looking at and like analyzing or examining sort of real world problems, right? Real world issues with regards to like politics or economics and whatnot, right? With regards to like military forces, butting heads and whatnot, more specifically, especially with Fallout 1. But of course, you know, Fallout 1 very much sort of taking a look at the Master, and sort of their like, you know, all of them deal with, you know, war never changes. But Fallout 1, of course, very much dealing with the Master and wanting to sort of bring everyone together as a sort of unified, I don't know, being or entity as a sort of form of survival in the new, like, screwed up post-apocalyptic wasteland. Fallout 2 sort of touching more on, like, the exploitation of indigenous peoples, especially as it pertains to the United States of America, as well as a lot of rampant destruction of, like, natural life and sort of, like, the sort of destruction of the environment as a means to, or as a byproduct of like extracting more resources, specifically oil. You know, it ends at the oil rig from the environment. Fallout 3 very much into like propaganda, right? Very much about propaganda and sort of, you know, being a freedom fighter, as it were, but very much an examination of like government-run propaganda machines, and as well as like the free distribution of like a general, I don't know, service to people, I guess, like freely distributing water to people, as it was. New Vegas sort of looking at energy through different lenses and how like different sort of forms of government would manage like both a war in the area, but also sort of managing the dam itself, Hoover Dam, because that was, you know, of course, what everyone was fighting over. Fallout 4, a lot about I'm not sure I would say automation, because that feels more in the line of 76, but more so of like what it means to be human and to like have another, like, I don't know. I would say like what defines a human being, more about like the idea of humanity, and sort of like trying to broaden your horizons as to sort of, I don't know, think about like is this group a people, right? Should this be included? Should this person be given like, I don't know, inalienable rights, right? Where do you draw the line between what is and isn't given personhood? I would say is sort of the like broad scope of what Fallout 4 was about. And then, like I said, with Fallout 76, at least its core original sort of starting point, a lot about like the exploitation of a labor force and like mass automation, which was sort of like the throughput of, or the through line of the Appalachian area of Fallout 76. But for the next one, I would love to see them sort of look at, I don't know, more, definitely at minimum, something that's specifically like a critique of American society, right? But I think it lends itself, or it helps a whole lot if that sort of critique of like American society and like the American life, or some sort of problem within American society, is able to be like extrapolated, and a lot of people either understand this issue, or you can very easily apply it to where you live, right? Because I think that's the way in which Fallout, when we're considering like narrative themes, that's sort of like its playground. It works. It serves as a form of like better examining issues that we have. Such is often the case with science fiction and fantasy, but particularly like different kinds of science fiction like really drill and delve into that sort of thing. Specifically, if we want to get very specific, of course there's no shortage of issues that we could cover, but specifically something that I actually think might show up in Fallout 5 specifically, not to overuse the word specifically, but I would say the American healthcare system. I think that is potentially where we're going in Fallout 5. And that is mostly due to, and spoilers for the TV show if you haven't seen it. Not like main spoilers for the TV show, but like minor spoilers, I would say. Like incidental B plot, not even B plot, but like D or F plot. More like world building that was thrown in with the Fallout show. I think we'll see something spin out from that anti-feralification, like ghoul feralization serum or whatever it is. That's sort of how I think we'll go about sort of looking at the American healthcare system and sort of like accessibility to healthcare and sort of accessibility or the scarcity, sort of either true scarcity or even manufactured scarcity of, I don't know, medicine, as it were, right? Because in the Fallout show, they introduce, but it's not really a major plot point. It's just treated as if it already exists in the world. The anti-ghoul feraling serum, we don't really even have a name for it, but it's a brand new sort of, as far as I know, it's a brand new sort of, I don't know, narrative device. It's a brand new aspect of the Fallout world for the show. And I think it's a pretty cool little advancement, right? That, of course, after so much time, especially in an area that's a lot more, I don't know, grounded, a lot more, I don't know, safe to where you could like advance technology and sort of research into this relative to the East Coast. the West Coast would have the opportunity, thanks to something like the NCR, to sort of look into a way to either outright prevent or delay the ghoul populace going feral, right? Sort of in a way in which, I don't know, ghouls haven't really been closely looked at since, I don't know, Fallout 1 even, right? They're more so just a facet of the world, and there's less thinking about sort of how they fit into it. New Vegas did some stuff with it, but that was mostly super mutants, right? New Vegas mostly dwelled on super mutants up there at, I forget where it was, Jacobsville? Something like that. In the snowy area, in the mountains. But I could 100% see them going that route with, like I said, a sort of healthcare bent to it, and sort of ideally you would have, as a game, you would have multiple factions with different ideas of how to go about it, of how to solve the issue, or sort of even address the issue, right? Maybe some don't even think it's a problem and want to make the problem even more exacerbated so they can generate more money or whatever, right? But you would have different factions with different aspects or different viewpoints on how to solve the issue. And I would personally love it if there was no like idealized solution, but that's maybe just the New Vegas enjoyer in me, because, you know, in New Vegas you have the big major factions and the major players at Hoover Dam sort of in the war, but none of them are ideal, right? They all have some sort of issue. In a perfect world, I've always said the followers of the apocalypse would be sort of your go-to faction with the ideal solution, because their ideology is such that, I don't know, they're so egalitarian. But New Vegas and kind of like smartly positions them as a faction of losers, right? As a faction of losers that has also had an immense evil born out of their system as a whole, right? That's very cool, which in and of itself would be a neat thing to examine, the way in which sort of a more goodly or more, like I said, egalitarian faction could give birth to somewhat like a terrible individual, like Caesar, Kaiser, whichever you prefer. But maybe that's already trodden ground with New Vegas. Maybe they don't want to go there. But yeah, I think the sort of serum being the main point of contention is the way to go, right? Because otherwise, if it's just purely about like personhood and ghouls, which of course is compelling, I think that should take a bit of a back seat. And be like your B plot or whatever, right? That should be something else that comes up where your player can like decide one way or the other, or sort of, you know, you role play and decide like, oh yeah, of course ghouls should be treated as equals, or no, they're not humans at all. They're terrible, or something like that, right? That's not all too far off from, like I said, what they did with Fallout 4 and synths, synthetic people, and sort of where do you draw the line? As they're more advanced and all of that, they become more and more inseparable from humans. A lot of that, they sort of decide to tread there with synthetics, right? Which, I don't know, the whole synth situation, like I said, it kind of, it already steps on the toes of ghouls and super mutants, right? That's why I think the whole synth situation, I do think it struggles to, I don't know, like I said, it struggles to separate itself from pre-existing like world building and whatnot, right? It struggles a bit to separate itself as a narrative device, as a world building, as a fact of world building. It struggles to separate itself from kind of what's already in place with regards to ghouls, with regards to super mutants, right? You can already tell a similar story with ghouls, right? If you think about it, you know, you could manufacture ghouls. You could be intentionally ghoulificating people. You could be talking about like, oh, there are people coming into our society who are ghouls. How do we feel about that or whatever, right? How do we feel about ghouls being treated as equals and stuff? But I think you can get around all of this and whatnot. I think the way to go about it would be with the sort of lens of looking at it through like the American healthcare system. Specifically the serum, the availability of it, the cost of it, what it takes to produce it, stuff like that. I think it's ripe for it, right? If, like I said, it could be anything. I think ideally, taking a step back, sort of reiterating, I think whatever Fallout 5 or a potential spinoff of Fallout, not unlike New Vegas, whatever that covers, it should be some sort of societal issue, right? And ideally, at minimum, one rooted in the United States, because, you know, Fallout has such a United States bent to it. And then, ideally, it's something that you can easily extrapolate and is relatable to people, regardless of who you are if you're playing the game, right? Either it's in some way applicable to your country, or you understand where someone else, you can very easily understand where someone else is coming from with sort of the issue or the case point made. But yeah, that's, sorry, I hit the table. That's sort of my end all be all, or my my major point, my major thought on that. I didn't think I would like divulge like what specifically I would even think that it would be about. But yeah, I would say probably the American healthcare system, because that's something that has come up in like American politics time and again, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? And I think sort of using ghouls and this serum would be a great way to do it. That said, maybe the TV show is going to do it, right? Maybe the TV show is actually going to cover this exactly. I don't think so, because it felt very much like a B plot, but maybe that's a big reveal that it actually turns out to be way more important rather than just another facet of the world, right? To me, it seems like they're setting their sights elsewhere on, without spoiling the ending of the Fallout TV show, the big development that happens at the end of the Fallout TV show. That seems like what they're going to set their sights on and focus on, right? Anyway, I think that ought to do it for this week. Like I said, these videos being recorded in advance, but that doesn't mean you can't submit another Gentle Viewer submitted question. As always, helps if you include a question mark in your comment, helps me add it to the list, and I will probably be recording the next one right after this, because like I said, I'm going to be out of town. Maybe I'll change around my jacket and tie or something, right? That way it looks a little bit different in the thumbnail. I don't know. All right. That ought to do it. Until next time, please take care of each other.